Good to roll.
Okay. Let's start with Eric Bailey, and then we'll go to Ryan Aber. Eric?
Hey, Lincoln. It's good to see you. Good to see you, man. Wanted to ask you about Perion Winfrey's recruitment and just the importance of him really helping fill an immediate need, being a junior college transfer. And kind of on that note, I wanted to ask you about just the future recruiting too. How much do you evaluate looking at junior college players compared to those that may be in the transfer portal who have really good Power 5 film?
Yeah, no, Perion's recruitment was, I would say, pretty normal in a lot of ways. We had I think, quickly identified that he was a guy we thought could help and have an opportunity to help right away. And then I think he was able to really look at our situation and see that he was going to have a great opportunity to come in and make an impact at a big time program. And we built a good relationship with him and the family right away. And yeah, I give him credit. I mean, kid, pretty early on decided this is what he wanted to do and stuck with us. And I think it's, worked out well so far. And then JUCO recruiting, I think we'll certainly still take a look into the junior colleges. We've obviously had some great success there. Some of our, very good players, your D.D. Westbrooks, Marquise Brown, Perion. I mean, we've had several that have come in here, Ben Powers, that have come in here and done very well. So I think it's another tool for us to continue to build the best roster that we can. Certainly there's, the transfer portal has changed that, but will it cause us to not look at the JCs? I think we'll always look at that. And if we feel like there's something that can be positive for our roster, we certainly won't hesitate to recruit that player.
Lincoln, appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too, Eric. Thanks.
Okay, Ryan Aber and then Joe Bettner.
Yeah, Lincoln, I noticed that Trajan Bridges and Seth McGowan are no longer listed on the online roster. Can you address their status and just what their standing is right now?
Yeah, no, they're not members of our program anymore, and just we wish them the very best going forward.
Appreciate it, Lincoln.
You're welcome.
Okay, Joe Bettner and then Jason Kersey. Maybe Joe's not on. Let's go to Jason.
Hey, Lincoln. The NCAA is reportedly going to ban the Oklahoma drill. So I wanted to ask you about that. First of all, that's something that I think a lot of high schools, two-a-days, that sort of. So first of all, do you have memories of that in Muleshoe? Was that a big day when you did the Oklahoma drill? And secondly, how much do you guys even do it anymore at OU?
Yeah, we definitely did it in high school. So I have vivid memories of it. That was always a fun day, and we did it quite a bit actually. So always very competitive, and was kind of that badge of honor, that toughness drill that everybody got looked forward to. Everybody got fired up about. No, we haven't done the drill here honestly since I've been here. At times we've done versions of it that are safer, less high-speed contact. So we've done some things similar that get you a similar result without maybe quite as much risk involved. But obviously, with that change and others coming down the pipe, there's going to be, a lot of things as coaches, I think that all of us are going to have to circle back and really reevaluate our drills and make sure we're in compliance. And I would say that's not new for us. I mean, we've done that for a while. I mean, the trend here for the last several years has been, what drills do you have to have? What drills are unnecessarily potentially putting a player at risk? So I think our drills have been tailored a lot. I don't think we'll actually have to change a whole lot with these new regulations coming out, but times certainly have changed from the days back in Muleshoe.
Thanks a lot, Lincoln.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mason Young and then Bob Prisbillo.
Yeah, Lincoln, I wanted to ask you about the Tulane game week 1. Just with the challenges that traveling and playing presented this past season, what level of concern is there about that game, or are you feeling more confident about continuing to play that game considering how you navigated travel this past season?
Yeah, I would say I'm very confident that we'll be able to travel and play that game. I think with, where we're headed in this pandemic and, large number of our players now and staff either getting back or either already vaccinated or in the process of doing that. So I think that number will continue to climb. And yeah, I do. We learned so much from travel last year, and honestly got pretty good at it, even though it wasn't, it wasn't real comfortable, it wasn't real fun all the time, but it was, we were successful at it. So I have total confidence that we'll be, be able to take our full contingent to there to New Orleans to play.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob Prisbillo, and then Cliff Brunt.
Lincoln, you never want to go through spring without someone like Pat Fields, but did that open the door for a couple guys to really show you what they can do moving forward?
I definitely opened the door. It gave some guys some great opportunities, whether it's a guy that's played a lot like Delarin and a chance to move him around some defensively. It gave us a chance to work Broyles at a number of different places, and thought he had a very strong spring. It gave some of the young guys like, Bryson Washington, Key Lawrence, Jordan Mukes, all of those guys an opportunity to get a lot more reps as well. So no, it was a good thing for us in a lot of ways. And if you're going to have somebody, that's not able to participate in spring, you love for it to be a guy like that. Not that Pat doesn't need work and need to improve, he does, but he's played a lot of ball around here as well. So for certainly for those young players, the added reps made a big difference for those guys.
Cliff Brunt, and then Barry Trammell.
Yeah, Coach, how difficult is it in this day and age when a guy gets in trouble? Is it to weigh that balance between, okay, we can help this guy and it's time to cut our losses?
I don't know. It's that difficult. I mean, I think you have mistakes and the guys make that you feel like they can overcome and learn from, and then there's always got to be a line there, and it's certainly not a free pass, and there's certain things that if they happen, that there's really no explaining left to do, and so we are in the business of helping people. We can't forget that. I mean, every little mistake that happens out there, people want us to just toss guys away immediately, and that's not our nature. That's not who we want to be at all. But at the same time, we've also got a university and a proud football program and a lot of things here to protect as well. And we're going to help these kids as much as we can, but we're certainly going to protect the program and the university as well.
Okay, Barry Trammell, and then Garen Emig. Barry, you're muted.
Sorry, Lincoln. We were talking about things are getting somewhat closer to normal. You're confident for August and September. How close are things right now to normal for your guys? And looking back, do you sort of marvel at the sacrifices everybody made in the program to make sure you had a season and make sure you had to get, to be able to do the things you did? And does that give you an appreciation for not just the players, but your staff and everybody that went through it to sort of persevere the way you did?
Yeah, with the first part of that, things are a lot closer to normal. I think certainly anytime we're outside, they're virtually normal. I think I'd have a hard time picking out a difference between an outdoor practice or workout right now and one before the pandemic. When we're inside, there's still, the ability to get the whole team in one area, or, guys, people being masked when we're certainly in enclosed spaces for an extended time, like football meetings, position meetings. Those are still different. We've still got we still don't have position groups back in their meeting rooms. They're still spread out all throughout this entire facility to still promote as much social distancing as we possibly can. But we're closer. We definitely are. And our goal is, hopefully that we can get to herd immunity within our football program sooner rather than later, and then potentially it's not done, but potentially with that would come some loosening of the restrictions within our program. And I do marvel at it, Barry. The sacrifice of the people in here was just remarkable. I mean, just executing a football season and all that it takes by itself without a pandemic is very challenging and difficult. And you throw all this on top of it. It was, yeah, you do look back at it now and wonder a little bit how our people did it. Specifically our medical personnel, Scott Anderson, Brock Schnabel, that group, the amount of hours that these people put in on top of the normal, bumps, bruises, things that happen with your players was remarkable. I mean, it was, on the phone almost every single night was some type of issue, and having to track down contact tracers and having to get guys, tested positive into somewhere they could live. And I mean, it just was constant. And those guys, that whole staff, Chris Watts and all those guys were phenomenal. And they really led the charge. Everybody had to sacrifice on their own end, but specifically our medical personnel, we don't get through that thing without them, without a doubt.
Darren Emig, and then John Hoover.
Lincoln, I was going to ask about where the Big 12, what role the Big 12 plays when you guys go recruit. And I want to tie it to the context of the attention the conference got for missing out on the first round of the recent draft. I know you're promoting what you guys are up to more than anything, of course, but I just wonder if that's a case where there'll be a little bit of a reverb with regard to the Big 12 shortcomings and what you'll do about it, if so.
I don't think so. I mean, it's the same old conversation, I mean, if you take, if you go look at the history of the draft here over the last 10 years and take Alabama out of the SEC, what's the SEC's draft record? I mean, it's the other thing that doesn't get talked about a whole lot is just the fact that, just the number of teams that we have in our conference versus some of these other Power 5 conference. I mean, just by sheer numbers, it is what it is. So we had a good run of players go after the first round. We've had several first rounders, us and other teams here in the previous years, and I think will in the coming years as well. We still continue to produce draft picks at an extremely high level, and I think we'll continue to do that. So I just don't hear about it as much of a topic anymore, honestly. I think you're going to have years where that happens. And, right now the reality is if, a couple schools in our league don't have a first rounder, then, we may not have one. And that's just the nature of it. But, we had a good draft run this year with the fact that we only had, it was a little bit of a unique year too. The fact that we only had, I think, 6 draft eligible players that
Right.
left. I mean, which is a crazy low number. I mean, our pro day literally took about a third of the time that it normally takes for that reason alone. So I thought our guys were represented well in the draft. And again, we've historically been represented so well in the draft, and that's not going to change.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
John Hoover, and then James Hale.
Hey, Lincoln, thanks for your time today. The way that quarterback recruiting has shaken out the last few cycles, you've been able to land the number 1 guy in the country basically every other year. Now, just in general, okay, just generally speaking, your overall recruiting philosophy, would you say that statistically with the transfer portal and now you've got immediate eligibility and your best guys usually go 3 years and then to the NFL, is that about ideal, what you've done the last couple of years? In other words, you go out and get a bunch of guys to play one position, it's inevitable that they're going to fill up the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been a kind of a constant cat and mouse game of adapting to the trends specifically at that position, adapting to the rules as they've changed. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it comes down at the end of the day is, you're going to have to need an impact player here to play the way that we want to play offensively and to carry our expectations in that quarterback room and just what's your best route to be able to get somebody like that, and there's some years for us that, there's a high school quarterback out there that we think is phenomenal and is absolutely the right guy for us. And if that happens, we tend to zero in. And if we don't think that's the case, then obviously there's other routes, or if we need somebody to be ready a little bit quicker, like a few years ago when we took Jalen, then we've got those options as well. So I think it's, I don't know that there's, the way it's evolving and changing and rules changing year to year, I don't know that you can just put down a blanket statement on, or like a blanket plan and just let it go. I just think you got to keep evaluating every year where the guys are that are the difference makers, and what's the best way to add them here to our program. So there's been a little bit of a pattern. I get that, over the last few years, but I don't know that that necessarily means that that'll always continue. I think it's going to continue to change, and we've got to be ready to continue to adapt.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
James Hale and then Parker Thune.
Hey, Lincoln, thanks for the op today. This is great. Lincoln, you always look for certain goals you've stated before in the spring that you hope to accomplish offensively, certain progressions and things like that. Are you happy with how the spring went offensively? Were you able to reach some of those goals? And in what areas do you feel like, you really had some great success moving forward?
I'm excited. I wouldn't say happy, but excited. I think this group's quality ball is pretty good, and maybe frankly has a chance to be better than the last couple of years. Like when we're on, you see some of the depth and talent in O-line, just overall I think is a little better. I like the quality of the backfield. I mean, I like the quality at all the places, but I think it's when we're on, there's some sparks of it, of doing some good things. It'll be a battle of consistency for us. It'll be a battle of, can we get some of these young skill guys to step up, specifically at the receiver position? Can we land on that correct spot on the offensive line where guys rise up but gel and play as one unit? Can we continue to push our level of play in the quarterback room? I mean, I just think there's a lot of questions. I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of questions is where I'd kind of leave it right now. We got to have a phenomenal summer. Offensively, the group's got to really come together. If we can get the most out of ourselves in this group, then we'll have the chance to be a good group, but we got a whole lot of work to go.
Hey, thanks, Lincoln. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Parker Thune and then Jenny Carlson.
Hey, Coach. It was noted earlier in the spring that Obi Obialo is no longer listed on the roster. Just wondering if you could address that situation and why he's been removed.
Yeah, Obi came to us midway into the spring semester and told us that he thought he may that his career may be coming to a close, and made the decision to leave the program. And my understanding at that point, and I don't believe anything's changed, is that he was ready to hang up the cleats and move on to the next phase of his life. So I hate that things didn't work out better for him here. If they just one of those things that, especially with the injuries, just never really timed out. But he was a really good kid here, and wishing the best as he jumps into his next chapter in life.
Appreciate it, Coach.
You're welcome.
Jenny Carlson and then Bill Haston.
Hey, Lincoln. A lot of pundits and prognosticators out there like your bunch for this next season. I'm curious from your perspective, though. You know this group better than anybody. What do you like most about who you've got coming back, just the makeup of this team? What excites you most about this bunch?
Honestly, probably on the field, I would say the competitive depth. It's I don't know that we've had a roster yet that has this many players that have played in big games and kind of has them spread throughout all the positions. I mean, there's not many positions where you wouldn't say that we've got a decent amount of experience, which I think is a good place to start. I think we've got some strong leaders on this team. I think we've got a pretty unselfish team. team that, a lot of guys here that just want to find any and every way that they can contribute. So I think that's a great start. And they do seem to really enjoy working together, kind of pushing each other. So there's a good vibe about the bunch right now. So they've been, we've challenged them, and not every moment's been perfect by any stretch, but they've been a fun group to coach so far.
Let's go to Bill Haston and then Josh Calloway.
Lincoln, I got on at 11:02. If you were asked this, I apologize. But with regard to the ESPN post-spring ranking and you guys #1, do you embrace it? Do you talk about it in the clubhouse? Do you prefer your guys ignore it, which is impossible? But just how did you feel about seeing that, seeing your logo at the top of that poll coming, or that top of that ranking coming out of the spring?
I think it, honestly, Bill, I think it is what it is at this point. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a long ways to go in these things. We're used to high expectations here. I mean, my biggest deal for the guys, I mean, we never shy away from high expectations and wanting to do well, is just making sure that we're putting the work in behind it. And that's our biggest deal here. And so we've never shied away from those things, but we also understand that preseason rankings are completely meaningless, and it's about the work that you do. I appreciate that some people out there have respect for our team and the guys coming back, but we got pretty high expectations within these walls, and we got a lot of work to do to be able to have a chance to meet them.
Thank you.
Watching the old Big 12 game there, huh? The Baylor game, huh?
Well, it's kind of been shuffling from, I was looking at Trey Brown's chase down tackle. That's what I was looking at.
That was pretty impressive.
Best effort play I've ever seen. So it's shuffling around. So yeah.
Good memories.
Let's go to Josh Calloway and then Kerry Murdoch.
Yeah, Lincoln, classic off-season conversation, but, it seems like there's a lot of steam being picked up for college football playoff expansion. I know you've talked about it before, but just where you stand on it today, would you rather stay put? It seems like it may be getting bigger in the future. So how big is too big? Just where you sit on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it feels a little bit inevitable that it's probably going to move at some point. There's several different routes that it could go, but the one spot to me, I think, is the individual conference champions. It's hard to imagine that not including an automatic bid. Just every conference is different, and every conference plays a different amount of conference games. Competition's different. The conference championship structures are remarkably different. Ours is the most difficult. And so, it's so hard to compare, these teams. So, I mean, I think I could see that being a positive move, for all conferences, and then potentially having some at-larges. But I do believe we got to be careful of it getting too big, because you do have an academic, calendar to work around. I think the bowl games, which we can't get too far away from just because they're such a, integral part of our game's history, and so important to so many different regions, and I think really important to college football. So I think we got to do everything we can within it to protect those as well.
Appreciate it, Lincoln.
You're welcome.
Kerry Murdoch and then Chandler Engelbrecht.
Hey, Lincoln, kind of in regards to, putting Drake on scholarship, I was wondering maybe some things that maybe we don't understand from the outside about the differences between scholarship players versus being a walk-on. Does that come into effect, or is it really more just about the importance of rewarding achievement for situations where guys that really are making a major contribution?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a difference in opportunities. The differences are, I think obviously for these families, the check to live every month and the opportunity to pay for school and room and board is a big deal for a lot of people. And so I think that's a big thing for a lot of these kids and families. I think for a lot of the kids, it's almost like validation. It's a sign that they really do believe in me and want to invest in me. And it's for anybody that's ever been a walk-on, it's a goal out there. It's kind of something out there that you're chasing along with, trying to make a squad or trying to win a job on special teams or win a job on offense, defense, or earn respect to the team or coaches or whatever it is. That's a goal out there for every walk-on that's ever played. And so it's always a fun moment. One of the best things that we're able to do. And we've had some really, really great ones over the years that have, that have earned it and nothing. We always try to keep a couple in the bank, just to be ready, because we want our walk-on program to be healthy here. We want players to know that if they don't get the scholarship they want, they can come to a place like this. They can get an opportunity. If they do well, they're going to be considered and put on scholarship. And so it's important for us to have those available for those guys when they pop up. And Drake's was great. I actually got to put Colt Atkinson on scholarship yesterday. So that was a real exciting thing. His dad's a high school coach in the DFW area, so I know he and the family were proud. So those are great ones to do, and it's fun to see the guys that really bust their tail and really do everything they can to earn it.
And did you get a sense that's just Drake's personality? Like, I know a lot of people sit there and say, well, he doesn't need a scholarship. His family has all this money. Like, to me, it would seem like he's the type of kid where he's not concerned about, the financial aspect of it. It was just earning that was a validation that he wanted to earn.
I think I know it meant a great deal to him. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, there's occasionally families that are fortunate and well off, and maybe the monetary aspect of it is not a big deal, but it was a big deal to that kid, no question. And honestly, I told him I really should have put him on before, and I would have had this whole scholarship situation been a little bit more clear with all these rules changing. And so I was a little hesitant to do it, because in a normal situation, I'd have put him on, many months before, based on his contributions here. But no, it was. I actually had my exit meeting with him the other day, and we talked about it. And I mean, it's a big deal to kids, and it should be. I mean, you earn a scholarship at a place like Oklahoma. That's not many guys are able to do that. So it's a big deal.
Thanks so much, Lincoln.
You're welcome.
Okay, time for a couple more. Chandler Engelbrecht and then Joey Helmer.
Hey, Lincoln, thanks for your time today. Back before spring started at your first press conference, you announced that Dennis Simmons would be taking a bigger role with the team. Just curious, over the course of spring, what have you seen from him? How has he done in that role so far? And really, what are your expectations for him and the rest of this offense going into, the season?
Yeah. Coach Simmons has been great. I think he's always been so tremendous for me personally, not just in the job, but just as a friend and a confidant and somebody I lean on, constantly in all kinds of different areas. He's really gifted at what he does. And yeah, I just think watching him grow as a coach and you always kind of look at your staff and think, what, you see, the responsibilities that they have at a given point, and can they do more? Can they help this program in different ways? And he was a guy looking at it that I felt like we could certainly give more responsibility to. So he's doing a lot of things kind of within the organization that go far beyond just coaching the receivers. He's the head of our task force on social injustice and kind of all things in that realm right now, and has done a great job with our team there. He does different leadership kind of events with our team and various members or groups within our team. Just one of those guys that has a good feel for our guys and a great way of communicating. He's a tremendous leader, and so these roles have fit him very, very well.
Thank you.
Joey Helmer.
Yeah, Lincoln, this is the first year in several years you guys have had multiple defensive guys drafted. Obviously, Neville went pretty high last year, but I'm just wondering how that's kind of resonating on the recruiting trail for you guys now.
Yeah, no, it's just more validation, I think, that we're not only are we making big strides and playing some really high level defense and I think everybody can see the difference of the product on the field, but the individual development of these players is really happening. And a lot of these guys, at least up to this point, that have been drafted are still, guys that only had, a limited amount of time with our new defensive staff and within this new system. I think what we'll see in the coming years is, these players that have had longer, or these players that were, handpicked by the staff and brought in, I think we'll have even more success, and I think we'll be drafted even higher, and we're going to have more of them. So that's it's definitely a positive thing, but I think it's honestly the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the defensive talent we're bringing in here and developing.